Hello and welcome back to this penultimate episode of Panad with Mersea to Jersey. If you've not seen any of the previous videos, please go back and check them out first before watching this video. Do subscribe by clicking the button below and check out the description for any of the links that we mention throughout the episode. But otherwise, sit back, grab a cuppa and enjoy.
Today we are delighted to be joined by Emma Roberts. Emma is from the Isle of Anglesey and she grew up and originates from the wonderful place name of, Dave, go for it. There we go. And we have done a couple of football chants related to that before, and the link for that video is in the description below, so check that one out. But yeah, we've got Emma joining us. She has competed as a sprinter in the athletics team at 4 different island games, and then because of falling in love with the game so much, she came out to Gotland in 2017 as the media manager for Ynys Môn, which involved a lot of going around from dawn till dusk, going to all of the different events, writing it all up, videoing, tweeting, Instagramming, everything like that. So if there's anyone really for us to speak to that knows something about the Island Games, it's Emma Roberts. So sit back and enjoy this video.
So let's start with, you've competed in athletics at 4 different Island Games. So how did you get into athletics itself? Was it something you were doing quite a young age?
Yeah, I started in athletics when I was 11. So we had a taster session in school, which is, I think it was through Dragon Sports. So, somebody from the athletics club came in and did a session for us. And then if you were interested, you could go down to a club session. So, I was 11, just about to start secondary school. And then I've done it ever since and absolutely loved it. It's all I've known, really. I'm rubbish at team sports, but I can run in a straight line. So I'll take that.
So how did you first being on the island itself, did you know about the Island Games? How did you then get involved?
Briefly. So our PE teacher was a bit of an Island Games legend. So he'd won a gold medal. So he mentioned it a lot. And you saw some of our friends who competed who, were swimming at a younger age. So I heard bits and bobs about it, but it wasn't really a big thing for the athletics team back then, from what I remember. So it was only when I was 16 we got together and we sent a team to Rhodes. So it was my first opportunity. It was first time away from home, without family and things. So it was a bit of a shock, but it was amazing. And you guys know, you just catch a bug, don't you? As soon as you go to the first games, that's it then. Yeah, it was a strange one. I didn't have a clue what to expect. I was there with a lot of people I was sort of new in school, but weren't really friends with. And then you come back from there and you've got this bond that you've never had before with them. It's special. It's a weird thing to describe. You can't really explain the games until you go.
Just going back to how you kind of started in athletics, what's the kind of athletics setup like on Anglesey? Because I know that there isn't like a full-on, facilities and running track, but there is in Bangor. So how does it all kind of work?
Yeah, so the main track is actually just off the island. I mean, you can't get any closer to the island. You're literally over the bridge and you're at the track. So there's Menai Track and Field is the main club. So there are only sort of 4 or 5 athletics clubs in all of North Wales. It's not a huge sport. So you found that Menai were attracting athletes from really far away. People were people were driving over an hour to get to training a lot of the time. And, even to get from Holyhead over to Menai, it's a 30-minute drive. So it's a strange one. It's a sport that you found people using it as a bit of a jump or a training for other sports. So you had a lot of footballers who'd come along who would just come and sprint train to improve in football, and then the same with rugby, and they would sort of prioritise athletics in their off seasons, which kind of got frustrating when you were in it for the real thing, for the athletics, because you'd lose people, and it was a little bit, I don't know, people didn't take it as seriously. I don't know. Yeah, it's a funny one, but I think I don't know. Athletics has grown in popularity, hasn't it? You know, Bolt and everything has helped that. So it's definitely a bigger sport than when I first started. But yeah, it's definitely grown on the island as well, I think.
Okay, and so if there's someone that thinks, you know, as you said, you know, you're not very good at team sports, but you realise that you were good at running in a straight line,
Yeah.
which, let's not talk about relays and about how, you know, that's not always in a straight line. But anyway, what if someone thinks, actually, yeah, I am quite fast. You know, I'm playing football at the moment. I don't know, say under 15s level. It's not necessarily for me, but I am fast. How does someone get involved, you know, in a similar way to how you've kind of progressed and joined the club and then represented your island?
I think they've got a lot better now at promoting the club through schools and stuff. You know, the things like, I know 560 doesn't exactly exist anymore, but there's a heck of a lot more outreach going on in the schools. So you know, the club is getting promoted a lot more. It's got a lot more visibility. You know, we've got a lot of sort of stars from the club. You know, you've got your Carries and your Yollas who are representing GB and they're coming from the club. You know, Andy Walling worked absolute wonders for that club, and he's really promoted it, you know, far and wide in terms of getting the name out there. But yeah, in terms of schools and stuff, it's just really increasing that the knowledge, you know, through all the coaches and stuff. So I used to coach 560 when I was in uni as a bit of a part-time job, and you know, you were constantly promoting clubs and stuff that people could go to. So that's definitely improved, and there's a lot more of that. So yeah, people are finding out about it that way.
Okay, great. What we'll probably be doing is, because Dave's got the kind of the historical, you know, records of Ynys Môn and all that kind of stuff, and we'll put a link to that in the comments for this video. But also the kind of the benchmarks, because, you know, for some people they might think, oh, international competition, that's well out of my reach, and I can't do, you know, what Bolt's doing. But actually, obviously, we're not talking world records and stuff like that, but we are still talking a high competitive level. But there's stuff that's achievable, isn't there, in terms of, you know, being the person that's representing Anglesey at, you know, say shot put or something like that. You know, if we put those links up, people can see, actually, come down to the club and give it a go.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I don't. It's not about being put off by those times or anything, and people can surprise themselves. You know, first time I went to Rhodes, like Lucy Beasley, she ran an absolute stormer in that 100 meters. No one ever imagined she'd get a silver medal, never. And it just came out of the bag. And you know, people can do things that they don't realize. I think you just got to be there, and you get kind of swept up by the whole emotion of competition and things. And yeah, there's plenty of competitions now. Men track and field are in so many different leagues, and they're really competitive. So I think, you know, there's loads of opportunities for people to sort of really push themselves, and yeah, they're getting to that level anyway. So I think don't be afraid of the kind of standard competition there. The abilities there are really, really mixed. So I think that's one thing I found there, was I was thinking I'm going in and I'm going to get absolutely battered, but it wasn't that bad. And I was running against, you know, Isle of Man, people that I'd run against in league competitions anyway. So yeah, there's people there exactly the same as you. Don't be afraid of it.
You mentioned Rhodes there again, your first games, and you've also said about how, you know, going there, you didn't really know the people, but coming back, you know, you were good friends with them and everything. So how did you take the experiences of that first game in Rhodes, going then to your next games in Orland, and then following that each time? And how did you then sort of help those who were new to the team in later games sort of be comfortable with it and learn from it as well?
Yeah, you definitely take on that like mentor role. So I just turned 16 in Rhodes. Like I said, first time away from home. It was scary, and it was a bit of a shock to the system. But yeah, it was just, I think once we came from there, we were absolutely, you know, we were all best friends. It was amazing. So I think you just, in the build up to the game, so when you were sort of training down the track for the new people, you were just constantly talking about it. And you're finding it now with all the athletes, once they come back from there, they're constantly uploading things on Instagram, memories and stuff, because it just lives with you. So yeah, you do take on that sort of mentor role, and you just talk about it, and people have got the buzz before they even get there now, because people talk about it so sort of, you know, openly, and it's just so exciting. And it like you said, you get a bit of a buzz, and it kind of doesn't leave you. And yeah, it's you're just kind of passing that on and getting other people excited and sort of reassuring them that it's going to be all right.
So you're a bit of a games veteran, actually. Yeah, and you've been to 5. The 5th one was in Gotland. Yep. As the media person, which meant that you were bouncing around from venue to venue, like doing so many sports in one day, often jumping in our rather dreadful hired car, going from one side of the island to the other to check in with like tennis, and then we'd go off to the shooting range and stuff like that. Yeah. So you are probably one of the best people in terms of seeing what the overall games picture looks like in that really competitive 6 days. What's your kind of message to people with regards to Ynys Môn 2025 and what that could do for the island and how people can get involved?
Oh, I'm so excited for that. It's going to be amazing. Again, like I said, you don't believe it until you see it. It's just amazing. So like I said, in Gotland was the first time I'd really seen some of the other sports. I've never seen shooting at the games before. I'd never even watched triathlon. And there was such a buzz. It was like, you wouldn't know that, it wasn't like the Island Games. You could have been at the Commonwealth Games, you could have been at the Olympics. It was exactly the same. I watched the triathlon in London outside Buckingham Palace with my sister, and then I watched it on the seafront in Gotland, and it was the same vibes. It honestly was. It was so exciting. There was nothing better than seeing like an Ynys Môn vest running past you. It's exactly the same as seeing a Team GB vest. You sort of can't explain it. And, you watch the cycling and things I've just never seen before. And just every time I do it, the thought of that being on your island is just so exciting. Like, the thought of them, cycling past Mersea Castle and loads of people that are watching it. It's going to be amazing. I honestly cannot wait. It's exciting to think how many young people are going to take up sport off the back of it. Even things like shooting, things that don't get the coverage on TV, or we only see it every 4 years in the Olympics. If kids can go down there and see it, it's going to be incredible what legacy there can be from the games.
It'll also be for, like you say, shooting there. I mean, I imagine quite a lot of people on the island don't realise that people shoot on Anglesey. So there's a lot of sports that can really advertise themselves to people living on the island.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wouldn't know where they train or anything right now, but it's going to give them that profile, and I think it's natural. It happens off the back of everything, but I really, really hope it does. I think there's going to be some work, and I think there's definitely from sport development and from the teams that legacy doesn't happen on its own. I think the clubs and that are going to have to be ready to take on those young people who are going to take up the sports. But I think they can be prepared. Why not?
Yeah, and you talk about how you went down to London 2012, and I think what we saw in Jersey was like Jersey kind of picked up on some of the lessons from London 2012, and they had a whole army of games makers for the Island Games, and that's been used since then in Gotland and then Gibraltar. And so actually, even if you're not necessarily someone that might compete at Ynys Môn 2025, you can absolutely get involved in volunteering and helping to go and stage these events.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, volunteering is a passion of mine through my job, but hugely. They get involved with just as much of the activities. You're there in the mix of it for the opening and closing ceremonies. You can go watch the sports. You can meet the athletes. They can collect the badges and everything. They get they get as involved with it as anyone else, and it'll be really, really special. And again, I think there's lots of work to do to sort of promote that, but if they can sort of use that inspiration of the games makers and sort of really pump people up for it, then I think it'd be brilliant. Get as many people involved as possible.
The Island Games is referred to as the family games quite often, and for you on several occasions it really was the family games, with the whole family there competing alongside your sister as well. What was that like, having your family and your loved ones there?
Yeah, it's special because me and my sister don't live at home anymore. We're both down in South Wales, so it's the only sort of, apart from Christmas, it's the only time of the year that we all spend together. So it was really, really special, and it's really weird sharing your mum and dad with about 20 other kids for a week. And me and Sophie had to take a back seat, like, you go for it. So to be fair, I can't speak highly. They don't like being bigged up or anything, but my mum and dad, they do an amazing job. And they they take these young people under their wings, and they give them a really special experience. I think they give these young people the independence to enjoy the games, sort of competing, and that sort of the other side of it is probably more important than the competing. It's the fun that you have outside of the games, you know, when you go out for a meal together or at something. And yeah, it's really special. I get really excited to spend the week with my mum and dad and Sophie.
Yeah, the whole social side is obviously something that we loved when we adopted you guys in 2015, and I think Dave's still recovering from the hangover of going out with the triathlon team in 2019, and I think coincidentally you had some food poisoning at the same time that made you sick.
Oh.
I think it might have been.
Nothing to do with the alcohol there. So our kind of adopted mascot pet dragon, Freebie Mon, would like to know who was the best competitor out of you and your sister.
Oh, I've never been asked that before. Oh, well, I suppose it's not fair, because when we run in relays together. So, and we've never actually passed the baton to each other. So that's quite funny. But
well, you meant to have passed the baton to each other.
No, we've always avoided it. We like to run the bend, we do. So yeah, I always run first leg, she runs third leg. So I can run I can run on a bend as well as a straight line, but yeah, not much further. But I don't know. I really can't. I can't answer. She's probably quicker than me. She's probably run faster times than me. But we can't compare. She did the 100s, I did the 200s. So
She stops halfway. Yeah.
Yeah, I ran further. Me.
Is that a good enough answer? No, he says that's rubbish. He says that you've sat on the fence far too much with that one. I think we'll have to go and ask your dad as one of the athletics coaches, who was the better runner.
You've mentioned briefly about your job. You studied sport, health and PE at Bangor University.
Yeah.
And then working for Sport Wales now. When did that passion of wanting to work in sport sort of start? Was it when you started with the athletics, or did it sort of progress through when you were at the Island Games?
Yeah, I mean, that's all I've ever known is sport. You know, I picked it at GCSEs and A-levels, and I've never wanted to do anything else. I couldn't tell you when it started. But Island Games 100% helped, you know, just being involved in sport. And when you realise you can do it as a job, it's kind of a no-brainer. But yeah, I did it in university, and then, you know, I feel really, really lucky because a lot of the people I did my degree with aren't necessarily working in the sector now. But yeah, I just kind of grabbed opportunities and, you know, experience of a large-scale event, and, you know, doing the media in Gotland has really helped me sort of progress. You know, the job I was doing most recently, you know, I had to have media experience, and the only experience I had was from the games. So it's 100% helped me get to where I am. But yeah, sport has just been kind of part of me. So I just, feel really, really lucky to be able to do it all the time.
I think we could probably end with just something that you could, sort of your recommendation to those watching about sort of going to the Island Games, sort of in any sport really. What would you say to them is sort of the number one thing that you thought was fantastic about the Island Games and the reason why they should go?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say you're going to be nervous before you go if it's your first time, because you don't know what to expect. But just grab every sort of moment and don't forget it. So, you know, like we said, you have your lanyards and you collect badges, which, you know, some people take really seriously. Go up to somebody and talk to them and have that conversation. I have met some crazy and amazing people through the Island Games. You know, we've got friends now who live in St Helena and Menorca and places like that we still, you know, stay in contact with. And just go and talk to people. And when they say it's a friendly games, they mean it. You know, most people there, you know, speak English as a first language, even though they're people from all over the world. And just kind of take the opportunity to talk to anybody and just enjoy it. It's amazing, and you will not regret it for a second.
Well, for us, the last 5 years now of being part of it, it's been fantastic, and we're really looking forward to going next year. Do you miss sort of having not been to Gibraltar?
Yeah, I really, really miss it. It's been a strange one. I think I'd love to kind of stay involved in any way I can. It's, it gets harder and harder to commit. And the media job was so hard. I have never worked so hard in my life. It was crazy to think it was a volunteer role. But I absolutely loved it. And yeah, I do miss it. And I'm really, really excited to see, if the games in 2025 on the island is going to be incredible. So yeah, it's going to be exciting. And I want, so many people, we go on about the Island Games. Once you go, you don't stop talking about it. So I think for people at home to fully understand it when it comes here, it's gonna be like, finally, what we're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm really excited about that.
Well, I think we can end it there. Thank you very much, Emma, for joining us today and give us an insight onto your Island Games experience and how it's helped your job currently. And all the best.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thanks.